All right, everyone, this is Fernando for yet an all new My Movie Review podcast. In this case, I got a great chance to revisit a film I had watched years back when it was originally released on VHS. And seeing it now on several streaming options, it gave me an opportunity to watch it again, and I was marveled at how wonderful this film has remained. Even after all these years, it definitely still has a bunch of amazing, wonderful, impactful moments. So, definitely a film that I encourage everyone to see, and then I'll give my star rating here just in a little bit. Spoiler warning, it's definitely going to get the highest rating possible, but I'm talking about the character driven, story compelling movie called Marvin's Room, which you're looking at here, and then you'll see the poster of it on the left hand side. So let's go ahead and let's do my initial review of Marvin's Room, and then that way it's something that hopefully will encourage everyone to check it out whenever you have a chance. So yes, Marvin's Room was a movie that I originally saw maybe about a year or two after it came out on VHS. Remember those days, huh? Whenever Blockbuster Video was out, whenever Hollywood Video was out, during that time period, I would wait for films to get really, really cheap. Like we're talking like a 99-cent rental type stuff. And whenever that occurred, that's when I would just randomly pick movies here and there to watch out of the blue. I would have no idea what they had to do with, but it was a great opportunity for a really cheap price to be able to see the film itself. And so that's how I saw this film originally, and it instantly just got me hooked. I mean, it's just an absolutely amazing, compelling story filled with some of the greatest actors and acting that you've seen in an ensemble cast like this in a good while. And so that's why revisiting it now definitely was a wonderful trip back. But yes, that's what I was doing back then. I remember some cases that I would just randomly run my fingers through several aisles, and then whatever it landed on the cheap 99-cent rentals, that's when in turn I would rent. I don't think that's what happened in this case. I think I saw the actual poster when it first came, like you're seeing there on the left. That's when I saw the initial film cover, and I thought, well, if a cast like that, let me check it out. And such a small, perfect story. It's almost it plays like a TV special of sorts. That it's amazing how compelling it is, considering how small it is altogether. So yes, first let me talk about all the pros associated with the film. Obviously, the greatest thing about it is its all-star cast. I mean, when you have, as you're seeing now in the trailer, when you have character actors like Diane Keaton, and then you have Meryl Streep, and then of course you have Leonardo DiCaprio. I think this was actually before he hit it big too, before Titanic came out and he became an international star. So this was at a turning point right before that occurred for him. And then also Robert De Niro's in it, and then some other character actors are there too. All of them are pretty much giving their entire worth when it comes to this small film. When I say small, I don't mean like it's small, like it's badly made. I mean like it's literally just taking place within only certain locations throughout most of the film. Like maybe most of it takes place in the home associated with Marvin's Room, and then the rest of it in some here and off locations like Disneyland, and then also a mental institution. But yeah, otherwise, that's just a small peek. This whole universe of this film is just a tiny peek into these characters and a couple of days in their life. But it's so amazing. The story, the compelling acting, the drama, the dialogue that plays into it, how it just grips you and it keeps you there even throughout the 90 minutes of where nothing really happens. But it just goes to show, just like with past movies like Glengarry Glen Ross and A Bronx Tale, stuff like that, the movies that I was seeing when they first came out, that's just the kind of young boy that I was at the time, while others were watching big action dumb films that had a lot of special effects. Here I was renting these type of movies just for the film itself and to enjoy everything that I could from it. But yeah, it goes to show that this tiny film is still so compelling as any of the other ones. My always best example is whenever I'm doing my exercises, if it keeps me tuned to the film rather than the exercise, then it's doing a really, really great job. That's what was happening here with Marvin's Room. So, besides the compelling acting, there's also the story. Basically, the story takes place in a location there in Florida where Diane Keaton's character is suffering from some illness, and it turns out that her sister, her long gone sister, and her two kids may actually be compatible donors to help her out. And so that's where they travel to Florida, and then there's some a little bit of mayhem because there's just compelling personalities between them. They don't gel, in other words, and so you see some riveting scenes there. And then, of course, afterward, things hope get resolved to a certain point. But yeah, the storyline just flows. It's actually from a play that was originated a couple of years before that. Unfortunately, that playwright he ended up dying shortly before the film was made. I believe he died at the time of AIDS, if I'm not mistaken. But his play was in turn created into a film. He wrote the screenplay, and so that's why it feels so small but so big at the same time. Riveting scenes, all of them feeling very personal, especially with again the camaraderie and then the conflicts that are between the main characters. And then the other pro that's within this film, it still remains one of the most beautiful looking films I have ever seen. Like every scene is just beautifully photographed in terms of the daylight, in terms of the lighting, in terms of how great like the washouts almost look within them. It doesn't look cheesy, in other words. Like you know how when there's daytime soap operas, how they're always having a lot of daylight within them, but it looks soap opera effect. Not in this case. This is something else that's entirely different. And if I was ever into making movies, if I was ever into doing anything involving scenes that had to be filmed like this, I would have definitely hired whoever this person was, whoever the cinematographer was, or the director of photography for this film, because as you can see from these scenes, I was just amazed by how things look. It's just me when it comes to that. I'm definitely well, however, how a film looks catches my eye first, and it's definitely, since obviously it's a visual representation, that's what makes it last to me. So it made an impression on me when I was a youngster back then, and it still continues to make an impression on me now. Another pro associated with this film is the music. The music is wonderful within it. The soundtrack is definitely something I'm gonna have to get sometime soon because the music within it is just cheery, it's upbeat, it's almost solemn in certain situations. It's just the kind of music that you would expect from a film like this, and I'm wondering how the soundtrack, if it's going to be expensive or not, but I'm going to have to check it out later on. But it's definitely something that stood out as well. And the last thing that I wanted to mention too, the director, the direction associated with the film, it turned out to be really, really well. Again, how riveting can you make certain scenes if you're all you're doing is just talking within the living room or talking within the garage or maybe over at a hospital and so on? But it keeps you compelled, and that's always the good job of a director. It's keeping you hooked without making things cheesy or catchy. And so that's what happened in this case with Marvin's Room. As far as the cons, none at all. I did not find anything wrong with this film back then, and nothing wrong with the film now. So definitely, I'm not going to talk about anything that was detracting from this film. Everyone pretty much just gave it all. Yeah, of course, you had those Academy Award winners that you're seeing listed there, giving it all, and then you had the youngster there, Leonardo DiCaprio, who again just was right before he hit it big, but there he was once again, just transforming into a whole different character. It's amazing to show what a good actor he is, because when you realize how he acted in this film compared to his other films, it's like it's his face and it's his body, but he's a totally different character, and that goes to show again what that does to an actor whenever they morph into these type of characters. But yeah, nothing absolutely wrong with this film. The pacing is perfect. The scenes just flow, as I was mentioning earlier. It's just as good as can be. So otherwise, I'm gonna give this film my star rating. First time here for my playlist, it's gonna be 5 stars, 5 stars altogether, because 5 out of 5 is as perfect as can be, and that's essentially what this film has to do with perfection. So Marvin's Room definitely gets my first 5 star rating altogether. By the way, if you're wondering why it's called Marvin's Room, you've seen clips now of that old gentleman in the bed. It's basically that's Marvin. That's his room that he's always stuck in, and the reason it's called that, my guess, is because somehow, some way, his condition has forced everyone to come together and unite the family, and it all happens under Marvin's Room. So that's why essentially I think it's called that too. But have you seen this film? If so, let me know what your comments are below. If you haven't, you'll see the links for it as well. And then that way you'll be able to rent it or buy it afterward. I highly recommend it when you have a chance. And then that way you'll get to see just how wonderful this film is. All right, everyone. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.